Now for the part where a lot of you guys are here for because of my pinned message. I will address the elephant in the room. I also typed this out because I don't want to accidentally go off script and like get people in trouble. So I will address the elephant in the room, and I've asked the organizers and Sajam if I could talk about it, and they have like no problems with it. So I want to talk about it to make sure there's no like rumors or like speculations going on during the tournament, especially before like the team announcement. So you might have seen like the people who are participating in this current Sajam Slam. If you guys don't know what the fuck is going on, good, okay, that doesn't matter for you guys. Like you guys can like just be like, I don't know what's going on, like, oh well. That's okay, like it doesn't matter for you guys. But for those who do know what's going on, this is how I'll talk about it. Okay, so apparently the conditions that they gave the organizers was that there has to be 0 interactions between me and them. That means we won't be on the same team, and they will not be in my skill division. Obviously, I'm gonna be in the beginner level, and also I'm gonna get like absolutely destroyed. But they will not be in that skill division, so we will not fight 1v1. And Sajam even asked me if I was okay and comfortable with it a few days ago, and if I was really uncomfortable and stressed out about the whole situation, they won't let them participate. I was honestly like really surprised that he even gave me that option, since this was like the first time anyone has ever like asked this of me. And like he didn't have to do that, and I won't lie, I was really anxious, but I said it is not fair to kick the player out when they were not involved or responsible, especially when I know they're very passionate about fighting games and the FGC community. They really want to be here, and I will not take that away from them. And we all know that I suck at fighting games, and me getting kicked out won't really matter that much in the long run. So like I was honestly like really surprised that Sajam wanted to make sure I was okay, when it was really just easier to ask me to step down instead. And like I've been outcast before, I've been ostracized in the past. I was even denied entry for tournaments and events in the last 6 months. So like I know how it feels to be like excluded, and I don't want that for others, especially if the event is something they're passionate about. So I told Sajam that we shouldn't take away their chance to participate and ruin their experience due to the actions of others. I know like going in, there's going to be like a lot of reactions when the announcements came out, so I just had to basically mentally prepare myself in advance type deal, which is fine. Like I knew in advance, and I just had to like mentally prepare myself. You know, my mods understand what's going on as well. So I'm making sure that no one's gonna get in trouble, and that starting here there will be 0 interactions with them as per the rules, and we're just gonna vibe and have fun. Okay. It is a for fun tournament, and I'm here to have fun, and will be the last time I'm going to talk about it going forward, and it'll be the last time I'm addressing the elephant in the room type deal. So yeah, basically that's the scripted portion over.
So let's talk. There's some drama in the second dimension. I don't know if you guys are aware, there's a bunch of stuff coming up. A lot of people are mad, and normally I wouldn't say anything, but it does relate probably to some people's enjoyment of the Slam, the tournament that we're running, in case you guys don't know. And for me, I don't care if people are mad at me, because I like never get involved in anything. So someone being mad at me is like honestly almost a little hype, because I like never really create drama. I like never have problems, right? I'm like so the opposite of all this. Like I'm never involved in anything ever. But I do want people to be nice to 2 people in particular, which is the 2 attendees to my event. That's what I care about, and hopefully they enjoy watching the tournament. Like for me, I don't care if anybody's mad at me for whatever reason, true or false, but I want everybody to be nice to the people attending my event, not cause any problems for them within reason, right? And then also hopefully they enjoy watching the tournament. But I announced the tournament yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw. Sajam Slam announcement is up. Here's all the players that are playing in the tournament. It should be a lovely little time. I'm really excited for it. Now, if you are not a VTuber fan, a lot of what's about to happen is not going to make any sense to you, okay? And for that, I apologize. I am also not incredibly familiar with the second dimension. Okay, I don't want to like LARP like I'm a knower. I am, as you can see, in 3 dimensions. So I really don't know too much about the 2D plane. But there was some problems yesterday in relation to this. For those of you who don't know, and I'll give you my rudimentary understanding of it because I'm not an expert, right? I've been running this for a while. The very first Sajam slam I ran for Tekken, I've been running the slam for a while. The first slam I ran was right after there was some initial issues with nijisanji, right? The VTubing company. I wasn't very familiar with it at the time. I like kind of looked into it a little bit and I was like, am I causing a ruckus here? Is someone going to be upset if these people are in my tournament? And it didn't seem like that was going to be a problem. So I was like, okay, this is cool. Second event, we ran it again. We had Mrs. Bird involved in the event, which a lot of you guys were fans of. It was cool. It was a good time. Everybody was cool. There's no problems. Now, to my understanding, Mrs. Bird and Mrs. Brightshield and the rest of nijisanji have not been involved in the same event, right? Like there's been some problems. I don't know the details. I have no idea. Again, I'm in 3 dimensions. There's been some problems or something with Mrs. Bird and like nijisanji not being in the same tournament and like events and stuff. And now, to my knowledge, I don't know if this is true or not, but this is one of, if not the first time they've like been in the same event. I don't know if that's the case or not. But like obviously there's some trepidation, right? Because like there's not been a lot of crossover and like, you know, I don't know what these other events are like, but like I'm just a guy running a fighting game tournament for people to hang out in and play some games, right? And have a good time. Now I do know that there's some problems here in regards to this. Now there's a lot of chitter chatter in the 2D plane about problems and stuff that's going on here. So let me explain to you as clear as possible what is happening, right? Okay, this is gonna sound really funny, but like reading everybody's comments about it is really hilarious because I promise everything is like so much more simple than the machinations you're creating on the internet. This is a great lesson. I was thinking about making a video recently talking about this. I promise you, people are like not masterminds, you know, puppeteering a bunch of problems and stuff, right? Like it's very straightforward. Okay, I'm happy to have Mrs. Brightshield and Mrs. Bird in my event. I have no problem with anybody. The only thing that I'm trying to do is make sure that everybody is cool and there's no issues with anybody involved, right? Like I just don't want there to be any problems. In the same way as that in like other events, certain people were like, yeah, I don't want to be on a team with this other person. They have like mutual, like, yeah, me and this person, we don't want to be on the same team, but I have no problem being in the same event as them. That kind of stuff's come up before. It's no problem. In this case, obviously, Doki was in the last Tekken Slam, as I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar. Victoria and Rosemi were in the first Street Fighter Slam, or the first Tekken Slam. They were awesome. Nobody had any problems the whole way along. But because Doki was in the last one, her and I talked about being in this slam, and obviously Mrs. Brightshield's gonna be in this one too. We had like an early conversation about, can this even happen? Like, are all of you allowed to be in the same place at the same time? I don't know the rules, man. So it's like, can someone from this company and Mrs. Bird be in the same location? And if so, what are the rules of engagement? Like, what are we allowed to do, right? Like, can you both be in the same team? Can you be in the same skill level? Can you interact or whatever? Like, what are the conditions? And like the early conversation basically we had, right, was is Doki and is Mrs. Bird and Mrs. Brightshield allowed to, I like calling them that, I don't know why, allowed to be in the same event? If so, right, if so, what are the rules of what they're allowed to be? And if they can't be, like either for personal reasons or like the company decides or one of them doesn't want to, if they can't be, how do we resolve this, right? So like if Mrs. Bird is and Mrs. Brightshield can't be in the same event, like who should be in the event? Should Mrs. Bird drop out? This is the conversation I asked. I was like, do you think you should drop out? Do you think we should have you in this one? And then what's it called? We'll have a conversation with Victoria and see if she wants to be in this one or not. Like, you know, we just have a conversation. That's all. Like, what makes the most sense for everybody? Does it make sense for Mrs. Brightshield to be in this event? Does it make sense for Mrs. Bird to be in this event? Can you both be in this event? Should we go and we'll take turns? Like, it's like this event will have a lot of people from nijisanji, and then the next event will have a bunch of people who they can't operate or work with for whatever reason, and we'll put them in an event and we'll just rotate to make everything make sense and be cool. You know, like that was basically the conversation that we had. It was like, how do we accommodate so that everyone can be involved in this and not have any problems? There was like no like why yada or you know who I can't stand. Like literally everybody was like super cool about it. We got some rules about what we were allowed to do and not allowed to do. We accommodated, and then we did the thing, and I made sure that everybody was cool. I just had a conversation with both people. Are you all okay with everything? If we do it this way, is it fine? Is this gonna cause any problems? Are people gonna be mean to you? Like, is this gonna be a big thing? And the consensus from everybody was like, this should be cool. The only thing that I'm worried about is like people on the internet going ham, because this is like the first contact basically. And that was basically it, right? Like, that was as complicated as the conversation was. Like, I promise you, that's it. I promise you, it was like literally just like, what makes the most sense? Like, should someone be in this one and not in the next one? Do you want to be in this one? Do you not want to be in this one? Are you like, do you feel more strongly about this event or that event? Should we like swap events? Can we coexist? That was basically, it was just like a normal conversation that happened. Like, that was complicated as it gets, right? Like, and you're just trying to make sure that everybody is happy with the arrangement, and then it doesn't cause any problems for anybody, right? Because at the end of the day, we're just running a video game tournament that's supposed to be fun for everybody, right? And so like, it's really, what up, Boot? My cat came in. It's really funny to read all the theories, right, on the internet about like why stuff is happening and like what's going on and like all this stuff, when really like nobody wants any problems. Like, do you think Mrs. Brightshield wants problems? No. Do you think Mrs. Bird wants problems? No. They're both really cool. Like, they're both super chill. Like, there's no problems. We get a list of rules of what makes sense. Everybody has a conversation, and then like life goes on. It's like really straightforward. I promise you that nobody wants problems. Like, nobody wants issues. And like, really the conversation we're trying to figure out is what makes the most sense for everybody to be in one event or the other event, or neither event or both events, or like what we can do, right? Like, what makes the most sense for everybody. For me, I don't really have a problem with anybody joining my events as long as like they want to game and have a good time. I'm pretty straightforward, right? So to me, as long as everybody wants to game and have a good time, like, you can participate in my event for as much as you want. Like, I'm totally cool about it. Like, really, it's just a chance to play fighting games and have some fun. So I promise you that's as complicated as it gets. And the second thing on that note, the second thing I would say about this, as someone who's like never involved in drama ever, so it's really interesting to read all this because I'm just so disconnected from stuff like this from the day-to-day, is the way people talk about each other is just so wild to me. And I don't mean that about me. I mean the way people talk about Mrs. Bird and Mrs. Brightshield and everybody else. Everybody is just so rude to each other all the time. When I was reading these things, I was like astounded at how mean everybody was. You know, like, it's the internet. You're allowed to do whatever you want, but you got to be a little bit more considerate for other people out there, man. Everybody was so rude over really no problem, right? Everybody's gonna play in the video game tournament. They're gonna have a great time. Both of them don't even exist in a 3-dimensional space. They can't even come to TwitchCon. So they're gonna both play in the tournament, and then neither of them are gonna be at TwitchCon for the finals. So neither of them are even gonna be at the finals in person with their physical forms. So they'll play in this tournament, like have a good time as usual, and then we'll go do the finals offline without their physical bodies because neither of them are gonna go. And that's it. Like, that's basically as complicated as it gets. There are 2 of the 3 or 4 people that I allowed to attend the event who literally just can't go to TwitchCon. We, like, of the 24 people going, I think 21 of them are going to TwitchCon, and like there's like 3 people who can't make it or something. And that, you know, our rule was like basically you need to be able to go, but there was like there was a slight wiggle room for a few exceptions, and we figured the 2 of them, because they'd been in the SLAM before, like it made sense for them to do something like this, and we could accommodate some other people to take their spots. That's as complicated as it gets. I promise it's like pretty straightforward. And like the way everybody talks to each other on the internet about it is outrageous. I couldn't believe it. Everybody is so mean to each other. Not about me. I mean, listen, I'm used to reading mean things about myself on the internet. That's not a problem. But the way everybody talks about each other is so mean. Like, you guys gotta be kinder to each other. The other thing is, I promise you, the machinations you assume people are trying, like, they're just normal people doing stuff. And like, you know, it's not gonna be as complicated as you think. It's just like everybody's trying to have a good time and play the video game, and that's the end all be all, right? It's just a fun video game tournament. Just be cool, you know. I promise it's not much more complicated than that.